Let's queer up breaking news. Study shows nearly $20 million of economic impact of Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival. When Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network broadcast the June 22 Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival, we had the feeling we were watching something different. We discussed the crowds, the electricity in the air, and more. Well, we now know that the Wilton Manors event was all that and much more.
A 5-month exhaustive study has just been completed by Orlando's PFM Group Consulting. The study, called Economic Impacts of Wilton Manors Stonewall Pride Parade and Street Festival 2022, will be reported at this week's Wilton Manors City Commission meeting. But here is your sneak peek breaking news report from Queer News Tonight.
The number one conclusion is that this is the largest LGBTQ+ pride and event held in the greater Fort Lauderdale area, meaning Broward County. The number two conclusion is that the study reports the economic contribution of Stonewall Pride is $20 million. The comprehensive report evaluates many important facts on the impact queer events like Pride has on local and regional economies far beyond the celebration of the LGBTQ+ community. Here are other highlights of the study results.
More than 1,000 surveys were conducted by participants at the event, and other interview surveys were conducted. Using cameras and more than a dozen drones from Wilton Manors Police Department of live footage over a 12-hour period, the Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival had more than 50,000 participants.
The last survey like this was conducted in 2017, where 35,000 attended. This means attendance has increased by a jaw-dropping 48% in just 5 years.
While a largely South Florida event, attendees came from throughout the United States, including 25 states, plus across Florida and the District of Columbia.
66% of festival goers were local. 19 attended from Miami-Dade and Palm Beach counties, and 6% from Florida communities outside of South Florida. Out-of-state visitors accounted for 7% of attendees, including Texas, California, Colorado, New York, and New England.
This is particularly important because more than 6,400 visitors came from across the United States from communities outside of South Florida. These 6,400 guests account for 32% of the economic impact of the Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival.
More than 4,200 of the attendees were overnight hotel or Airbnb guests, and they stayed an average of 3.2 nights and accounted for 10,838 hotel nights and nearly 100,000 in Broward County hotel tourist development tax revenues.
Stonewall Parade and Street Festival contributed $6.1 million in direct economic impact. The study reports the 2017 economic impact of the 7 years prior was achieved in just one single year.
Stonewall Pride has age diversity. 55% of participants and attendees were 49 and under, and 45% were 50 and older.
Stonewall Pride had sexual orientation diversity as well. 58% identify as gay, 7% lesbian, 12% straight, 18% identify as bi, pan, poly, and queer.
Stonewall Pride also had race diversity. 66% are white, 22% Hispanic, and 9% were black. We've provided the breaking news highlight of this 24-page comprehensive study. The news is exciting for the entire LGBTQ+ community and is proof positive that the LGBTQ+ community has finally and definitively emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic. Everyone here at Queer News Tonight congratulates the City of Wilton Manors and the WMEG for this incredible success. All boats rise with the tide. You are invited to join the Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival Saturday, June 17, 2023. We invite you to come to Wilton Manors, or you can watch live on Queer News Tonight on Roku and Apple Television. Thoughts about the new study?
I love that they did this study, but we could have done this study, Al. Lots of people went, a lot of money was made, lots of people went. We said all of that from that stage when we were commentating the whole parade.
And it did feel different, didn't it? I mean, it really felt, being in that crowd, it was a different energy altogether. The thing that's really interesting, though, wasn't there like this fear of that the cost of security, that they were really worried about the cost of security? Well, this more than makes up for that, right?
Yeah. The exciting news is 10,000 plus hotel room and Airbnbs identified by the study to the festival, which is really incredible. There was a very large percentage of people that were staying with friends and family that also stayed, that contributed. It's also interesting to me, one of the things that jumped off the page is approximately 30% of all of the participants create a lion's share. No, I'm sorry, 6,400 of the 50,000 participants contribute 30% of all of the money. That's obviously because of travel, and because they're traveling and it's not a local experience. If you live in Wilton Manors, or you're not spending as much money in restaurants or in shops or in hotels, travel really does have an impact, and that's what this story shows.
Yeah, the entire economic impact of the entire parade and weekend is just amazing to see. It's also really impressive because this has been going on for how many years now?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Probably as old as you.
That it might be, but it's crazy to see that, and it's like we bring something to community, and we already knew that attraction to that area is high enough. This is showing it.
What stood out to me was, I mean, we've seen all of these protests at other Pride events across the country, and the fact that everyone was still able to come and not let that deter them. That's
and then it jumped like by 30,000 more people. Like, that's crazy. I mean, we were in the middle of that, Al, and it felt like that many people were there. And I remember I was like, oh, there's about 40,000 people. I'm like, how can you count all those people, white man?
He had a little clicker in his hand.
He had a clicker in his hand.
One thing that is curious, this study is going to be presented at the Wilton Manor City Commission, and they're going to look at it. You can't really argue with the facts that $100,000 in bed tax was generated from it.
Nice.
That is so important, because that says to direct decision makers, are festival events like this? Absolutely, because this is how money gets generated. One thing that I am curious about that might be perceived as a negative, and I just explore it, what do we think about 9% are black that came and 7% are lesbian that came?
I do think
Are those numbers
Those
low?
seem very low.
I was surprised by that.
Really
as well,
low.
because there was a lot of women there, and
oh my God.
I was giving the eye to at least 80% of them, and I don't think that there was only 7% lesbians in that whole
That's a
thing.
very low. They seem very low.
Maybe they didn't get the surveys from the right women.
I still do think that we still got some ways to go for the entire LGBTQ community to become more inclusive, and
Absolutely.
for Pride to become more inclusive.
Yeah, so 9% is not a number that you think should be reflective of what comes to Stonewall Pride?
I don't think so. I would be curious to know what last year's Pride attendees, what that breakdown was.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this study was very expensive. They haven't done it in 5 years, since 2017, so they don't have a comparable to compare from prior before 2017. Those were the two things that jumped off of the page at me. I thought it was respectable to have mid-teen numbers identify as straight was positive, because after all, we're talking about the Stonewall Pride Parade. You pretty much know what's going to happen coming down Wilton Drive, and
A lot of assless chat.
actually, for me, not enough. But I thought that number was healthy. But the two things that jump off the page for me is I thought the Latino number was quite good, 22%.
That's good.
That's a good number of coming. That it wasn't 90% white and it was 68% white. I think that's a good number. The black number, I think we've got some work to do in Wilton Manors, and the women, I think we've got some work to do in terms of the springboard.
But it's amazing how, because Stonewall Pride comes sort of mid-Pride season. I mean, Pride season begins, the first Pride here is like in February in South Florida. And there's one right after the other, right after the other.
Pride of Americas.
Pride of the Americas.
So the people still want to show up for yet another Pride festival and parade. Is good.
That's how you know they have something good to offer.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right. That's right.
Right, but that is local. When you think about a local pride, that is Stonewall.
sure is.
Think about all those people. You know, I mean,
You know, one other number that jumps off the page of the study that I think is excellent, because we talk about this a lot in South Florida, but we really don't know the statistics of it. To have a top end in the teens, I think it was 19% of whether you're straight identifying or LGBT, coming from Miami-Dade County and Palm Beach County to Wilton Manors for the event. That's really encouraging, because 1 in 5, roughly, are from in South Florida, but outside of the county. So it means you've made an intentioned effort to come to one of our festivals. And I think that that's important because anybody that's connected with these kind of events and festivals can be pretty assured that it's going to be financially viable for you because the economic base that's coming to it are going to spend money, which after all, we're celebrating LGBT at the festival, but there is also business and other kinds of things that should be considered, and this study proves it's a good investment.
What about the incredible organizations that are a part of this parade? Like we did the parade and we were able, how long was the parade, Al? How long were we there in that bubble for?
Yeah.
They had me and Alec in a corner. We couldn't leave there. We had to finish the whole parade from there.
Right.
But it was a couple of hours long, and it was every organization that does anything for us. Plus a lot of the straight big organizations that you never see at these parades were also there, including, and I thought that was fantastic. Churches, a lot of churches.
Politicians, the usual game.
Yeah, all of the ones that won that lost for state office, they were they were there. And one last thing is, it's great news coming right here at the beginning of 2023. We have a whole season in front of us. You know, they have award seasons. Well, in South Florida, we have Pride seasons. And we have all kinds of great events in front of us. This study should be shared by all of our LGBT organizations, because this is not a unique Stonewall phenomenon. It's probably it is. They said this is the event, but it's a representation of how valuable our LGBT events are for those people that sit on the fence and go, well, we really don't need you to do that. Oh, yes, you do, because you make $100,000 just in hotel taxes.
Bed tax. You should have that tax. House bed tax. $100,000.
So we congratulate Wilton Manors as a city and the WMEG. This is great news, and we all are looking forward to Stonewall Pride, June 17th, 2023.